Ladies and gentlemen, how are you all doing? If you'd like to grab your seat, we will be kicking off for the panel conversation. My name is Tracy, I'm the digital guide. I'll be hosting the panel this afternoon. I'd like to introduce our panel, which includes representatives from NBN from TAFE Queensland, Department of Employment, Business and Training, Brisbane City Council, Office of Small Business Commissioner, and the Small Business Financial Counselling Service of South Queensland. So first up, we have Marcello Matthew. Wave at the nice people. And Marcello is with NBN spent the majority of his rollout in regional Queensland. So for everyone streaming it today, listen up, he's your people. Visiting remote communities and towns, working with government, business, and community leaders and associations to help them understand what the NBN network is available and when. More recently, Marcello's focus is in ethnic Queensland and is on small to medium business and entrepreneurs to empower the cohort to help identify what's available, navigate their needs and requirements, and empower them on what they need to discuss with their internet service provider. It's such a big topic, isn't it? Feel free to reach out to Marcello on his LinkedIn, Marcello, Marcello, Massi. Reach out on LinkedIn. Marcello, do you want to kick us up and say a couple of words?
Sure. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for allowing us to be part here. So NBN obviously is probably been one of the biggest telecommunications projects, definitely in Australia, but also in the world in terms of the amount of rollout that we've had to do and the different technologies that we use. COVID has been a very interesting place for us because it actually really tested the network and what it could actually do, and we pretty much opened up the taps during that time. So there's a lot of capacity in the network, but what we did find was that people started to use the network in a very different way. So digitally, they had to become, everybody became a lot more savvy. They got more into video conferencing and what have you. So in many ways, it's actually opened up a newer section of what our network will provide to you. And we've actually brought forward a lot of newer opportunities to get fiber closer to your home or to get fiber at no cost to you, just because the need is now there. If we wouldn't have had COVID, it would have probably taken us about 5 years for the community to get up to that level of technological advancement. But COVID actually brought that in, so that's probably one of the only things that are good actually about COVID. So I'm here. We've got a just outside there as well if you want to have a chat to us about anything.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcello. And we will be having a bit of a Q&A at the end, so please, save some questions up and make sure that Marcello is interested to find out about the Business Finder, which we'll be talking about shortly. So, and next we have Tony Curl. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm very well, Tony.
Excellent. You're looking fabulous, my friend. Tony is a mentor at TAFE Small Business Solutions. He's more than 30 years experience in operational leadership and change management. He's passionate about supporting small business, and his corporate experiences provide valuable insights. Tony specializes in building high-performing teams by creating a greater engagement among employees. Tony, do you want to share a little bit about your role now with TAFE?
Absolutely. I'm a third-party contractor into the TAFE Small Business Solutions program. We deliver the Better Business Workshop. Now, fundamentally, whatever you think of TAFE, in respect of attending one night a week, doing adult education, clear it from your mind, because the Better Business Workshop is all about your business. It's all about developing a plan for your business. It's centered around the Cert 4 in small business management. So you do get a qualification, but the important thing is your assessment actually comes from the business plan that you produce during the workshops and the program. So it's an accelerated learning model. So to do a Cert 4 in small business traditionally could probably take you about 12 months via the traditional methods. This is an accelerated learning model. We do it lock, stock and barrel within a 12-week period. But the key thing, no assessments, no tests, no sitting in the classroom doing assignments. The assessment is completely based on the business plan that you prepare for your business, which incorporates every aspect of your business. So whether you're new to business, been in business for 12 months, or you want to reset your business plan, the Better Business Workshop is seriously one of the best ones on the market, and it's offered through TAFE, it's subsidised, and once again, we've got our stand out there where you can, there's myself and Alice, another mentor, where you can ask some questions and see if it's relevant for your business.
Fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit more in the Q&A about how our regional viewers can access information on that, Tony.
Right throughout Queensland.
Perfect. Love that. Next up, we have Glenn from DESBT, Department of Small Business Employment and Training. G'day, Glenn. How you doing?
G'day, how you doing?
Now, Glenn has a few slides, a little bit of a presentation that we're going to allow Glenn to walk through. But Glenn's the Regional Director from the Metropolitan Region for Department of Employment, Small Business and Training. Metropolitan includes Brisbane and Ipswich, and it's home to about a third of all small businesses in the state. Big region, my friend. Big region. Glenn has been with the department for the past 5 years and has led locally the integration of 3 separate portfolios into one agency with a clear focus on supporting employers and small businesses to be successful and grow their workforce. Glenn, over to you.
Glenn's also a teacher by trade, and Glenn's really uncomfortable sitting down talking.
Come on up, Glenn.
So Glenn might take over.
I like that Glenn thinks about himself.
Yeah, maybe Glenn should get on with it. Good afternoon, everybody. Glenn Watson, Regional Director of Employment, Small Business and Training. You said Metro is a very big region. It's big in numbers. About a third of all the economic activity in Queensland happens in my little patch. Yet my little patch is only 1/700th of Queensland. So what Metropolitan Region's got going for it is our proximity and our economies of scale, hence our diverse industry base. I'll get on with our talk. So today, there's my clicker. Yep. How does that department support small business? And I might just try and explain who we are. So we're the state government Department of Employment, Small Business and Training. Those 3 portfolios come together. So what do? We provide opportunities for Queenslanders to get their first job, their next job, their own job, or employ others. So big focus on employment and jobs, which is a reason those 3 portfolios have come together. And that's why it's important for us. Certainly looking by the stats, we know that small business is the powerhouse of the economy. We know that we can't have economic recovery without a prosperous small business sector. We also know the significant contribution, our regional colleagues online, the significant contribution that small business makes to regional Queensland. Thank you for all you do in those communities. Big plans for small business. So as part of an election commitment, $140 million plan to back small business. As far as what's in that plan, there's a whole range of different areas quite targeted to support small business. I'll go through some of those now. So as we heard before, grants, so very targeted grants. There's a grant that opens next Monday, Business Basics. I've heard it a few times today. $5,000, very targeted at micro businesses and very small businesses there as well. Other grants, Business Boost, which will be open shortly, as well as the Business Growth Fund as well. So recently, in shaping this strategy, our minister went around the state and held a range of community forums, and we heard it loud and clear. Can you make your government policy, can you make it easy and friendly for small business? If you're going to have a grant round, can you give us some advance warning and enable us to get ready? Now, that grant will open on Monday. It will close when it's oversubscribed. That may not last too long either. So we heard that loud and clear. Future support. I'll just quickly run through some of these. Supplying to government's an interesting one. I'll go back to that. So Queensland Government has a 25% procurement targeting small business as well. There's a lot of work going on at the moment to try and ensure that we have successful small businesses in the supply chain to government. I'll rip through here as well. I talked before about first job, next job, own job, employ others. Incredible investment is aimed at trying to get the right people with the right skills on your doorstep at the right time. The big investment, $1 billion of investment, is around our training and skills portfolio in Queensland. A range of different strategies, such as free apprenticeships for under 25s, free TAFE for Year 12 graduates, our new job trainer fund that will fund free training for young people in areas of high need. So incredible investment there as well. Similarly, Future Skills Fund. Interesting, I'm a bit of a data follower. In my region, I've got more apprentices and trainees now than I've had in the last 4 years. So a lot of the stimulus that's in the market at the moment is having the effect with the uptake. What I'm hoping there is that we've got a number of small businesses that are back in the market of employing apprentices and trainees, with a range of supports and subsidies there, so we can get back into training the next generation to come through. Similarly, the priority training I talked about. Now, if there's anything you'd like to know about the specifics I talked about today, the business basics, the business boost, the business growth, other programs that we've talked about briefly, I'll give a plug for Mentoring for Growth. I've got a team outside there of two of my finest there at lunchtime today. I'd encourage you to go up and have a chat to them. If we don't have the answers right there and then, we'll make an undertaking to go and make sure we can get that information for you. I had an 8-minute slot. I think I'm about on time, and I've ripped through those, so thank you very much.
Excellent. And again, for our regional viewers, obviously, if you just Google Desbert, or reach out to Glenn, and I'm sure he'll be very comfortable putting you in touch with your local boots on the ground.
Yeah, I talked about the Business Queensland website. There's a small business hotline number on there. So we're one of the departments that you will be able to ring and talk to someone. A lot of those referrals come through to my team in Metropolitan Region for anything specific as well. So small business hotline numbers there on the website.
Lovely. And they're, look, like magic. There it is for you. 1300 369 935. That number again, 1300 369 935. Can you tell I had a background in radio? There we go. Thank you, Glenn. Now we're going to hear a little bit from Chris, who's the Economic Development Manager at the Brisbane City Council. Chris's portfolio includes the Economic Development Program of Council, as well as their City Analytics team. Oh, we have another data person on. I love that. Across his career, he's been a sought-after leader in the city sector and a trusted advisor to all levels of government and private sector alike. Chris has been recognised for his work exploring and facilitating the relationships between economics, data, smart cities and new technology uses and their intersection with planning, economics, data and cities. Chris, that's a mouthful. Can you put that into English for me?
For sure. And again, thank you for having us. So my portfolio of City Council is quite diverse. We have council's economists, but I also have council's business liaison and economic development staff. I also have a relatively newly established team, which is our City Analytics program, which is one. I know the Deputy Mayor was here opening the event this morning that she specifically stood up last year and fast-tracked due to COVID. And really that team is focused on gathering a whole heap of data about the city for the city to help both us as an organisation, but then also the business community and our residents better understand what's happening around us. And also lastly, have all our mall precincts, so all of our guest people in our economic precincts and the beating heart of all of our city. And then I guess also speaking on behalf of our sister business, which is the Brisbane Economic Development Agency, which is really our investment attraction arm. So Brisbane City Council, particularly last year through COVID, had a good look at how we were going to assist businesses. The Brisbane Economic Development Agency devoted a significant amount of their resources. Obviously, people weren't coming here, couldn't come here to specifically support businesses. And the main initiative that we've been able to stand up is the Brisbane Business Hub in the Queen Street Mall, which offers a range of programs through there. And I highly encourage you to duck in and have a look at that space. You can just walk in. You don't need to book anything. We have over 20 mentors available at no charge across a range of topics that you can walk in, book and get free mentoring services. We run a range of different training programs through there. as well as just being able to walk in and work and hot desk in there if you're inclined to do that as well. Off the success of that program, we've now, a couple of weeks ago, launched our first suburban version of that, which is in Nunda and Aspinall Street. So a similar type of space where businesses can come, meet and network, book the space for workshops or just pull up a desk as well and that kind of stuff. So really excited to do that. Probably the other key thing that we've done is really kind of shift a lot of our program. We're very personalised and proactive as well. So we recognise the businesses were really doing it tough last year. So we've really kind of shifted a lot of our team and put them out there to directly engage with businesses. So we have a team of business liaison officers, which are here today, manning a booth, so we can go and talk to them. They can certainly give you far more detail than I can. But our team are proactively working our way around the city, going to businesses. We know the businesses don't have a lot of time to necessarily lift your head up to figure out what's available out there, and not necessarily think the council's the place to go to as one of the ports of call to helping businesses. There's a lot of other people in this panel who might pop up to in top front of mind as well. So our team have gone up to over 5,000 businesses over the last sort of 6 to 7 months, and we're proactively working our way around the city just to make sure people know what we do. So we also continue, I think, importantly for probably the small business sector out there, to run a range of free networking events. They're really small. It's a really easy kind of entry point into the Brisbane City Council Business Support Network. They're held every week. They're arranged around the city. You just need to go to the Brisbane City Council website and type in business in Brisbane, and the events page will show you where the network events. Sometimes there's 6 people, sometimes there's 16 people. We're finding them, particularly a lot of sole traders and micro traders are turning up as their first point of call to meet like-minded people. We're seeing some really lovely relationships formed with people who get there, dip their toe into the water. They're a bit scared to sometimes go to chambers of commerce, which have to be structured. So these are really good gateway point into some of the business networking opportunities that are out there. And beyond that, council's continued to do a lot of our core economic development work across the region as well. But that's some of the core stuff we've done in the last 12 months.
Wow, well, a lot going on.
Enormous.
You got to look up. And that's before midday. And that's before midday. Well, we'll certainly get to the data because I'm particularly interested in that, but we might keep moving for the moment. So next up, we're going to hear from Peter Maddock, and Peter's got a bit of a slide deck ready to go. So Peter's the Director of Business Services at the Office of the Queensland Small Business Commissioner and established the office in early 2020. Previously, Peter was Manager of Regional Projects for the Department of Employment, Small Business and Training, and has worked at the state and federal level, including on the National Industry Skills Fund for SMEs. That's interesting. Peter is passionate about reducing red tape. Oh, we love to hear that. We might give you more time, Peter. Passionate about reducing red tape in small business and implementing changes that make a practical difference. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Maddock.
Thanks so much. I'm going to start my timer so I know how much time I've used. I think that's the best way to go. Excellent. Good. Thank you. Yes, Peter Maddock, Office of Small Business Commissioner. We were established around about a year ago as a result of COVID. So the National Mandatory Code of Conduct was introduced by National Cabinet, and part of that was that every state's small business commissioner would have a role to play in resolving disputes between commercial tenants and commercial landlords. We didn't have a small business commissioner in Queensland at that time, so that was my role, set up the office. And then Marie Adshead, who can't join us today, she's at another event, has just come back from signing a small business friendly council up yesterday. She has now transitioned from what was the small business champion role that's been around since about 2016-17 over to the small business commissioner. And following the last election, and as part of the big plans for small business, that is now going to become a permanent feature in Queensland, which is really good. So a lot of our work originally was around those disputes, and we still receive probably around about 10 on average every week at the moment, disputes about commercial leasing arrangements between the period of March and December last year. But the pie chart shows that that work's been changing. It would have been mostly red and blue inquiries and disputes about that stuff last year. And as that has tailed off, we've really ramped up what Marie's work was originally around the advocacy and making those changes, red tape reduction changes. And so we're just talk about a couple of those examples. So many of you will know that there's a basic test for JobKeeper, for example. What you might not know was that the ATO has a stewardship group for small business, and Marie sits on that, and they brought that concept of the basic test to be eligible for JobKeeper to that stewardship group. And Marie pointed out that if you were just to look at March 2020 turnover figures and compare them to March 2019, then Townsville would not have a single applicant who would be eligible for JobKeeper because they were underwater in March 2019. And so she brought that to the table and said, you know, the basic test, we get it. We want it to be really simple. You're either in or you're out. But there's circumstances all across the country, especially in regional Queensland, where that won't work. So they actually came up with the alternative JobKeeper test thanks to that conversation. So really just one of the examples there of advocacy that we do that impacts all of Queensland. That one was all of Australia. Another program that we're very proud of, we're asked to take carriage of, is the Small Business Friendly Councils program. And the Small Business Friendly Councils program it's not a certification program for councils to say they're small business friendly. It's more of a badge to say this council is out there saying, yes, we are going to prioritise decision making, procurement, payment times for small businesses, and we've committed to that. So they try and sign a charter, 2-page charter, say we're committed to doing that. And there's been some fantastic results out of that already. I know Ipswich, one of the ones who signed up first, have increased their spend on local small business procurement from, I think, 12.7% to about 23%, for instance. And they've also got a dedicated small business website now available for Ipswich as well. And there's many more. There's conversations with Brisbane and all of the other councils happening. It's actually the constraining factor is really us. We don't have the people, the number of people to get all of the councils signed up immediately, and many of the councils need to go through that process of getting it endorsed by the council as well. So that's happening across the state. Some other things we've been asked to do, we'll be working with the Office of Productivity and Red Tape Reduction, which is a new election commitment to really focus in on that red tape and some of the work that the Better Regulation Task Force used to do. So stuff like, when you're a small business, you often start out with a particular structure. And as you grow, you need to change that structure to adapt to that business. You might start employing people or whatever that might be. In Queensland, when you change those structures and you move the assets from one structure to another, you have to pay stamp duty. Well, not anymore, actually, because the Better Regulation Task Force, which Marie chairs, convinced Queensland Treasury to actually apply an exemption for small businesses for that tax now. So another example of the work we'll continue to do under that. Summertime Task Force is another one that we're going to be working on. It's piloted in Victoria about getting businesses access to more space during COVID, especially cafes, restaurants, places like that. And, we know people sometimes ask me, what's the thing that keeps you up at night? And for me, it's the 1 per 2 square metre rule. Anything that we can do, any of the work that we do that can try to alter that is really important for small businesses. Absolutely mindful that it's, we're in the middle of a pandemic and that we have to be conscious of the health. But anything that we can do to ease those restrictions, we're out there doing that, trying to do that every day. I've also got on my slides, and I don't have time to go through it all now. I've only got 1:40 left. But we've also got links to a lot of the other services that are out there. And the key one I'd really like to speak about, New Access for Small Business Owners program. It's been really tough times for small business, and it's usually tough times for small business, but particularly tough. And some businesses are going through a rough patch, and some business owners are going through a rough patch as well. That's what the New Access for Small Business Owners program helps with. It's small business owners who are coaches, and they will help coach you through some of those coping mechanisms that you might need to deal with the stresses of being a small business owner. And a really easy small business friendly application process. No need for a GP referral or anything like that. It's funded by Beyond Blue, and we really like that program. I've got a lot of other ones on there, but I'm going to be out of time. I guess the only other thing I wanted to say was that whenever we find really great new resources for small businesses, we'll put them out through our social media. And so our handle is @QSB Commissioner, one of the best ways to link with us. But also we have a number for those regional staff as well who want to find out more about what the Small Business Commissioner can do for you. Good. My beeper's about to go off, I reckon. There you go. Thanks, Tracy.
Wow, I must have scared them because they're all kind of setting timers and
6 seconds.
you did well. You did very well, and you've even sat down in that 6 seconds.
That's it.
There you go. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Felicity Sampson-Gower. Felicity is a small business financial counsellor with the Small Business Financial Counselling Service Southern Queensland and has been covering the Gold Coast region for the past 12 months. Prior to this, Felicity worked as a business associate amongst other roles during her 15-year banking career. We won't hold that against her. Felicity, do you want to tell us a little bit about your program?
Yeah, thank you for that. Our organisation provides small business financial counselling support to small businesses who have been impacted by COVID. We have a program which also covers supports them for drought impacted. So it was introduced in response to COVID to support businesses who have found that due to the circumstances that they are facing financial hardship. So we're able to sit down with them and assess their financial position, look at options for them, link them into support and access with other agencies, and work with them throughout that period, because we recognise that there's a lot of emotional stress that comes around financial hardship, and we're able to sort of see them through that process. We worked with the Small Business Commission during that period, helping with negotiations between tenants and commercial landlords. And as a result of that, while we were organising for them to have some rent relief, as a result of that, the cash flow now is fairly stressed for a lot of the businesses. Mm-hmm. So we're finding that there'll be a period of time where small business will need support, and somebody who can actually look at the numbers with them. It's a free service, it's confidential, and it's impartial, so we're able to go and visit them wherever they are in their business and provide some ongoing support to them.
Excellent. And how do people find out about that? What should they Google? What should they look for?
Yeah, so if they Google the Small Business Financial Counselling, Rural Solutions Queensland is the organisation, but if they look for Small Business Financial Counselling support, that will come up there. We have got a stand out the front here today as well, so if there are any small businesses who would like to have a chat and just get an idea of some of the things that we can support them with, they can come and see us there. I think our links are probably on the Small Business Commissioner's webpage as well, so we linked into those as well.
Excellent. Love that. Excellent. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know who we have on the panel now. You know what it is that they can help with, what it is that they do, what they offer. I'd like to invite any questions that anyone might have for anyone on our panel today. While we're waiting for that, Marcello, I want to kick back in and just chat a little bit about the Business Finder. You and I were having a chat about this earlier, and you know, I'm a little bit ashamed to say as the digital guide, I went, what?
You didn't know? No, look, that's basically what we as NBN wanted to do, because you are a specialist in your business, but you're not necessarily a specialist in telecommunications, though you should have to be. Moving from a traditional copper network to a fiber network does actually bring a lot of opportunities. So what we've actually done in our website is actually provide you a step-by-step, very tick the boxes type of scenario to see what type of plan you can have a chat to. We're the wholesaler, so we have over 150 retailers that sell your service. So if you would go to the Business Finder, it would basically say, okay, how many people do you have in your operations? Is it a single Is it one phone line, two phone lines? Do you need a fax machine? People still need fax machines, as crazy as it sounds. What sort of technology do you have that's connected to the internet? So are you using cameras for video conferencing? Are you using like VPNs or servers? Do you have cloud computing? So what it basically does is sort of takes you step by step to sort of work out a type of profile, and then it'll actually give you at the end pretty much you will need this type of connectivity and it's for these reasons. So instead of being bamboozled when you go to a retailer and they say, oh, look, you'll need this much speed, you need numbers of this and that, this basically gives you at least a starting point to talk about. And then the best thing about it too is that you can actually go and shop around as well, which is the other good thing about being a wholesaler is that there's a lot of retailers that are actually selling different business grade plans. And you might find that you may have something that's a bit more interesting from one retailer versus the other, but at least you know what you're actually talking about because you have an understanding, because you've actually looked at yourself, and what your operations are. So same thing. I mean, you can do that as many times. You can even put in the future, I'm going to expand to maybe a 10-person business, with 5 phones or 6 phones, 6 phone lines, and then it'll also give you those scenarios as well. So it's a good planning tool as well to use. So that's where the business planner is. The other thing that we've done with the website and the business website too is like there's a lot of case studies as well, and we found that when we actually feature a business doing really cool things through the NBN network, it actually really inspires other people at how to use it. So we had a company that actually used to do 360 camera views as a real estate agency, and then there's a boat business now up in Harvey Bay that's doing the exact same thing. They were selling houses through the 360 camera. Now the boats are actually being sold 360. So it's just this application of a technology that's available that they never thought they could do, but they saw our case study, and then they've actually moved that onto their business. So it's a bit of inspiration as well. It sort of gives you a thinking outside the square sort of look, and that's another reason why it's also worthwhile to have a look at our website.
Yeah, I love that. And going through COVID, when a lot of us as small business owners had to embrace working remotely or working from home, and suddenly we had staff members working from home, and then you've got to take into account, well, we've got Internet of Things. We've got our fridge connected to the internet these days. The kids want to play online gaming, or we've got Zoom calls going on at the same time. It's a different world and a different kind of thinking process now, isn't it, that we have to roll through as we're looking at our tech requirements.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, if anything, like going back to my original comment about COVID, I mean, it actually did push everybody to just, do that extra little bit that they weren't comfortable with. We've been doing video conferencing with work for the last 5-7 years, but I know that many people, like my wife included, she runs a small business from home. She actually had never done a video conference, but then she started to do Zoom calls more than me, because she really enjoyed it, and it was actually quite a lot more efficient as well. So it's sort of, forced everybody to just do that extra little bit more. And what we found is that now the appetite of small business to look at, a better use of technology is more encouraging. So then that's why, it's also another good reason to sort of go back and see, well, can I do this? I know that Uber does it this way, but can I do it for this application or for this particular industry?
Yeah,
so we've actually seen that, going up.
And let's be real, it's kind of nice to only have to dress from the waist up, isn't it? Okay, so Tony, you were talking a little bit about the Better Business workshops. Now you mentioned in there the Cert 4, but can you talk us a little bit through, because you talked about developing a business plan and going through. Can you just want to kind of run us through what they actually get? How long is the program?
Absolutely.
What's the requirements to get into it?
There's 2 main delivering methods. One is the workshop method, and the other is a one-on-one process with a single mentor. The workshop method provides 4 by 3 hours of workshops, and we usually run them like within a 6-week period. Now, in a workshop, you'll have from 5 to 10 businesses. The max we ever put through in a workshop will be about 10. The beauty of that is that, as well as the skills of a mentor like myself, you're also getting the experiences and the successes of the other businesses in the room. So it becomes a real sharing, it becomes a real positive
Bit of
network.
an accountability group, right? Because you start being responsible for each other.
It's amazing the amount of workshops where they continue to be a network to themselves as they continue to grow. So they just build this fantastic relationship over that. So in the workshop method, you get the 4x3 hour workshops, and then you get 2 single hours of mentoring with a mentor to understand how to bring your plan into action. So the one-on-one methodology is you get 5 sessions with the mentor, and they're 1.5 hours each. So in a workshop, it's 14 hours of contact time. In the one-on-one, it's 8 hours of contact time. Some people love the one-on-one because it's specifically targeted for your business, and you get 8 hours of dedicated focus around your business. But the majority, I've got to say, love the workshop because you're getting that input from other people. Now, of course, it's a TAFE product, so we've got a qualification in there. But you actually don't necessarily go, okay, today we're going to do this subject. It's all about the business the theory side of business. We take a client from understanding why they're in business, so really defining their purpose and their calling. We look at what sort of values and culture you want to have within the business. So we set that as a bit of a foundation. We then go through and we look at where. So where are you now? Where do you want to be? Where are you spending your time? So we're looking at that sort of aspect. So we're starting to set goals for your business, and not just one big general goal. We look at marketing, we look at sales, we look at your team. So we're setting goals in all of those areas, Tracy, and for a 12-month period, but also a bit more of a visionary approach. So we're looking at 2 lots of goals, one for 3 to 5 years' time, one for 12 months. What's the next step? We then look at the what, and the what is really important. So what are my key financials? That's something that is very important for businesses. And we look at getting people into forecasting. So, a lot of small businesses, from my experience, struggle with the concept of budgeting. And when we start working with them to forecast for their business, understanding what it would take for them to hit a level of income that they're targeting in their goals, it gives them a real insight. So it's quite amazing. But we also then look at things like legislation, risk. We look at, are you covered for your insurances? What's the intellectual property within your business that you need to protect? So the what component is really quite detailed. And that's where we got a lot of people saying, wow, I didn't realise that I should be doing this. Then we look at the who, and of course the who is really important. Who's my customer? And once again, Tracy, as you know, that a lot of people don't necessarily do the depth of work needed to understand who their customer is. And we put out this scattergun approach in regards to our marketing. And then we turn around and say marketing doesn't work. And often it's because we don't know who our customer is and how we should be messaging. We also look at who is our competitors. We do a full competitor analysis. We look at who our team should be, who's around us, who am I as a leader. And that's all part of the who component.
So it's comprehensive.
It's comprehensive. And then we finish with the how. So how am I going to put it all together? How am I going to systemize my business? How do I market this thing called my business? And it all rolls together in a very comprehensive business action plan that you then walk away with. And that's what I call the key thing that you get out of the program, this really comprehensive business plan. But can I tell you, I love seeing photos of my clients with their Cert 4 certificate because of what they've achieved at the same time.
We all love a good certificate, don't we?
Absolutely.
So, Tony, tell me, for the people that are streaming this, and anyone here, pop out, have a chat to Tony. You definitely want to do that. But for those that are streaming and watching this live, do they just go to TAFE? How do they find out about the program?
If you do a Google search for small business solutions or better business workshop, TAFE's number one, which is really cool. But it's also a 1300 number. It's 1340 60. Sorry, 1300 40 60 80.
Right.
So it's a pretty simple one, 1300 40 60 80. The girls at TAFE will walk you through the process, the registration process. Are you eligible for subsidies? All of that sort of stuff. It's very painless for the end result. So.
Love that. Fantastic. So, one of the things I love about being a Queensland small business owner is the amount of support and stuff that's out there. One of the things that frustrates me about being a small business owner in Queensland, how do you find out about this stuff? You know, each of the government departments are bouncing around and all have some great stuff on offer, but where do you start? Excellent. Good fan, big fan of your work, Tracy. Yeah.
Having worked with small business and industry across Queensland and Australia for the past 30 odd years, and I think you would all be very well aware as a small business, my husband is a small business organization. Yeah, he looks at wonderful services provided, but then has no idea which way to head or which direction, as the case for so many. And I just wanted to actually provide, well, two things. One, these are wonderful services, and if our client is a small business out there, how do we direct them as to which way to head? You know, and do we co-communicate all the services across the different levels of government and say this is the package that's best for you, so you better go into your council, etc. That's just a comment, I suppose. But the other thing is, I also work with business clusters, and I know for a fact that the members of these clusters, and I'll give you an example of one I've worked closely with in Cairns, Super Cluster, Great Barrier Reef, has about 70 odd members, predominantly small businesses from right across the service super sector. They have a cluster manager who then advises the members, okay, this is the business support program that best suit your members. This is so that they have that intermediary who provides the reference across to the better service to fit their needs. So just a, I suppose, comments, because as a small business, they're really trying to go on. Like I say, getting that message to them and helping them work out that cross-reference across the levels of government, you know, actually you'd be better off with the bets on this one.
So for those streaming that may not have heard Tracy's comment or encapsulation, I guess, of what's going on as a frustration of a small business owner. And I want to throw this to the panel because it's an excellent point, Tracy. The point was, and the question was, as a small business owner or as someone who's working with other small business owners, how do we articulate, how do we find, how do we put them in touch with the best department? Where do they go? I had a case this week with the DESBIT funding, Glenn, and you might be able to talk to this first, the Business Basics grant that's opening on Monday. I had to run a webinar for my people to go, actually, let's walk through the DESBIT site so you know how to access the information, because just getting to the information was about 6 clicks. 3 in, they're like, I'm out, I'm done, I don't know where I'm going now. So, Glenn, can I start with you? What's your thoughts on that? I know you're smirking. It's probably, this is being recorded for posterity, Glenn.
My comment is it's getting better, but we've still got a long way to go. So, for example, the answers are on Business Queensland. So there's a ready reckoner of all Queensland government information on Business Queensland. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago and someone said to me, you know, the depth and breadth of information there is incredible. I actually found the camel welfare principles and guidelines for people who run tourism operations using camels. Now, I knew I was speaking today, so this morning I went to my desk and I punched in camel welfare guidelines. It's on Business Queensland website. There is also the risk management framework for the management of camels. So what I'd say is there's a lot of information there. I can talk about my region, and Tracy, you're spot on. It's the concierge approach that we need to take. I'd like to think we're standing shoulder to shoulder with our local government and our federal government colleagues as well. And we've done a lot of work to try and get our stories straight for that. I know my team offer the one-on-one to try and walk you through all of your options as well. But I guess what I'd say is it's getting better, and the solution would be more of a concierge approach. And the other comment I'd make is there's other influences of small business that will also be guiding those decisions as well, accountants, solicitors, and probably just tell us a quick story, if I can, just to reinforce that. I was at the launch of Small Business Month in Ipswich 2 weeks ago. Philip Bell, the Chamber Chair, is an accountant. And he was telling a story about a small business that became a client of his. And it was a post-hole digging company. And Philip, the accountant, had never seen a company so profitable. And he asked the client to come in, and Philip was wondering, is it because he's got the best plan? Is it because he's got the best networks? Is he just what has he got? And he sat the gentleman down and he said, look, I'm fascinated at your books here. I can't believe it. What's your secret? His answer was, I know how to dig bloody good holes. I know what I'm doing. My business's competitive advantage is my skills, experience, and quality of my work. And I rely upon other people to help me with the rest of it because I'm just too damn busy doing that. So the answer, we're getting better, the concierge approach. And I think, even all layers of government, and Pete, you've done a lot of work in this patch as well, trying to get a joined up response to support small business.
It's the Steve Jobs thing, isn't it? Never be the smartest person in the room. Yeah. So?
A colleague of mine yesterday pointed us to QI Hub. Could you explain the purpose of that platform?
So before we do, just in case the regions aren't hearing that, so the question was, can you tell us about QI Hub? I'm looking at the panel. Anyone?
Queensland.
Okay, so we don't. Right, we're gonna Google it. Is the answer, Daniel? Google's going to get up. I'll definitely be Googling that. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for bringing. I love when you learn something. When we're all sitting here going, "Hey, there's another thing." Cool. So.
Probably a dual purpose question for Desmond and also Brisbane City Council. I work for Worklinks. We deliver transitions work in Moreton Bay region. So I don't know what Brisbane City Council does in this space, and I know obviously it's not your area either. I'm talking about Moreton Bay, but we work with a whole bunch of organisations to access things like Job Trainer and whatnot. We provide youth employees into businesses, but there's heaps of money going into the space, which is awesome to see. There's some great programs that we're helping business access, but again, when we keep talking to small business, what I keep finding is they go, there's all these great grants, they've made them small business friendly, they're easy, but people don't even know what a grant is sometimes. So we've worked with Moreton Bay Regional Council to deliver grant workshops, and we've actually paid for some of that from Worklinks as an organisation. So there's all this money going into it, like you mentioned, $1 billion for Job Trainer as an example. Is there money set aside inside that to actually educate people on what the program is? Because at the moment we're kind of not that we mind, but we're paying so that people can learn about the money that the government's putting in.
So to clarify your question, I think is there funding set aside to help educate small business owners about what grants are?
Could I answer that?
Please, Peter.
So there is, but there's a challenge in that. So in the Townsville, I talked about the Townsville Monsoon event, and they set up the Townsville Recovery Centre up there during that event for small businesses, specifically for them. They spent a lot of money on radio, flyers, people going around knocking on doors, all sorts of things. So Marie was up there helping at that time, and she went two streets away from the recovery centre and knocked on the business's door. They had no idea that recovery centre was even there. So yes, absolutely, there is money being spent on that, but it's a very, very challenging thing to get small businesses who are spending their time digging the holes to know about all of the things that are there. But I think that's what all of us are committed to, is to do our bit for those who've got the chance to pop their head up and say, what's there?
We are very close to time, so if you can keep it succinct, absolutely.
Come and talk to people like us in those regions. I'm sure that there's somebody in council that would be able to help, but Moreton Bay, come and talk to us and we can put you in touch with those employers because we already talked.
So we have one final question. Clinton at the back. So the question from Marcello, I think, Clinton, was how challenging has the rollout been for regional areas?
We're a pretty big country, but I guess the way that the NBN was sort of rolled out was we basically looked at what was already there and what was not there. So what we actually did as NBN was very early in the piece is to focus on regional Australia first to roll it out, because we knew that those were the areas that didn't actually have the level of connectivity that the cities had. So towards the end, ironically, we were getting a lot of flack from, the city folks saying, when am I going to get my NBN? But we did that willfully to make sure that we can bring the regions, online first. The In 2016 is when we actually activated the satellite network, and that actually basically really covered up the remote Australia, in terms of being able to get the connectivity. But as Peter mentioned before, we had a lot of, advertising. We had a lot of visits. I mean, I physically went to a lot of towns in far north Queensland to basically advise about that the network was available. And unfortunately, we just didn't have that cut through because it's a very challenging area to sort of get that information. But basically, right now, we have the whole of the continental Australia and the islands, so you can actually get an NBN network. The difficulty is being able to let everybody know that, even after 4 years that network's been up and running, the satellite one, for them to be aware that they can actually get that. So a lot of times, face to face, these type of events, it's great that it's being streamed as well because we're able to get that. Yep. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one thing we do, and like I said, I mean, we traveled around. I've probably done just about every single small town, pretty much around part of Queensland. But what we actually do is we actually go with other agencies. So I actually was part of the drought tour that the Australian government sort of did. So when you get additional agencies with you, they may not necessarily have a question about NBN, but we were there anyway. So they were able to have a chat to us about that connectivity, and we were able to talk about, is it a residential connection? Is it a Sky Master connection for education, like School of the Year, or is it a business type connection as well? So we pretty much covered all of those topics while we're there. But there's an equivalent of maybe just about in every region in Australia as well, because we do understand that there's a big part of that, that we need to do, and at the same time too. So I'm taking a bit long, but at the same time, too, we also like to work with aspects in RDA and as well for the digital uplift as well. So one thing is having the network. The second thing is what can I do with it? And there's definitely a bigger education challenge for us in regional Queensland just to get up to that speed.
I think the big lesson you'll all agree out of the last hour is, like all of these things, we're walking away somewhat with more questions than we're coming with. There's more opportunities. There's always more things, ways we can connect, we can do better. But I'm sure you'll all agree that, working with DESBIT, with financials, with TAFE, with the Office of Small Business Commissioner, with NBN, with your local council, whether it's Brisbane City, whether it's Ipswich, whether it's Toowoomba, far north Queensland, wherever you are, the point is reach out. These people are in your area and they're there to support you. But as a small business owner myself, sometimes we have to make that first step. We have to do that approaching to find out how to connect, where that access points of information are. So don't be afraid to reach out to these guys and say, hey, I do this. I can connect you into local services. I can do this stuff. When Glenn knows that, you're in Moreton Bay or I'm in Ipswich or Brisbane or wherever, then they can do something with that. But if they don't know you exist, they can't do anything with that either. we are at time, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I would suggest if you are in the room in Brisbane today, please do go have a chat to all of these beautiful people. Thank them for their time. Ask the questions that you didn't get to ask. If you're based in the regional areas, please just Google each of the departments, or if you can't, get around to doing all of that because who were they, what were they again, connect with me and I'll put you in touch directly with all of them. But just quickly before we go, can I get your Facebook or LinkedIn handle, whatever's going to be the most comfortable for you to connect with? Glenn's giggling again. Pete, can I start with you with the best way for people to connect with your office?
QSB Commissioner.
Yep, perfect. Felicity?
At rfcssq.org.au.
Perfect. Tony?
The best way would be to Google TAFE Small Business Solutions.
Love that. And I love that you put some work into the SEO that is rankings #1. Marcello?
Well, if you're here, basically we're just outside, but if not, Marcello Massi at LinkedIn, or for general NBN inquiries, nbnco.com.au.
Perfect. Chris?
Just business@brisbane.qld.gov.au.
Oh, that's a simple one, mate. Like everyone at something. No, Brisbane. Perfect. Glenn?
My guys have got a QR code out on the table, scan it, and it'll come straight through to us.
And the regional guys?
Desbert, yeah. Business Queensland. So Business Queensland, there's an inquiry line on Business Queensland. Just hit that with your inquiry. It'll go through to the appropriate party.
Perfect. Thank you all again to everyone on the panel. We're going to break for lunch now, so that's kind of where we're at. Remember, the cafe downstairs is open, so go and grab something yummy. David Kosh will be here, right? So he's coming on around. So Clinton will be back at about 2:00, 2:05 to introduce Koshy. There are other workshops going on. So if you're not sure which one you should be going to, what's right for you, go and have a chat to the guys on the asphalt stand. Come and have a chat to me. We'll point you in the right direction of, who you need to be speaking to and what you need to be checking out. But that's it for me. We'll be back at 2:00. Go grab some lunch and enjoy a bit of a break. Get outside and enjoy some sunshine.